One very well-known name in Reiki teaching is that of Phyllis Furumoto. She was the granddaughter of Hawayo Takata, the lady who brought Reiki to the West. And many people have Phyllis in their individual Reiki lineage. So do all the students of the Reiki Academy. Phyllis passed away on the 31st of March 2019 after a lengthy battle with cancer. I was very fortunate that I met her personally in 2015, and I don't really believe in coincidences, so I don't want to use this word, but it was rather strange. I met her in Kyoto when I went to a Reiki share hosted by a friend, the Reiki teacher Hyakuten Inamoto. One Monday evening, the only Monday I was free in Japan, I went there, and it was this very only Monday that Phyllis was free as well. So we met there. We had a wonderful conversation, and I met a very unusual, very special, very strong-willed lady, and she really needed that. At the age of 27, she took over from her grandmother, Hawayo Takata, as lineage bearer of what today is often referred to as the Western Reiki. At that time, after the passing of Hawayo Takata, the Reiki Alliance was formed as an organization to teach Reiki in exactly the way that Hawayo Takata did. And Phyllis really took it on to guarantee that all the teachings were absolutely unchanged. Over the years, there was quite some criticism, especially when people became a bit more liberal with Reiki and relaxed the rules, and then more information came out of Japan. And at a stage, the teachings were even seen as kind of slightly limiting. But the idea behind was to really keep Reiki as pure as possible, and Phyllis saw this in her grandmother's teachings. After having done a lot of research into the origins of Reiki in Japan, all I can say is that she really succeeded. Reiki, much because of her, really kept its integrity and resisted to be added too many outside techniques. So many people in the 1990s and early 2000s tried to add new symbols and new teachings, many of them really interesting, of great value, but not being the original Reiki. And only when more information came out of Japan, many people realized that this wasn't really necessary. And only when more information came out of Japan, people realized that this wasn't really necessary, and in many ways reverted back to the simplicity and clarity in which Hawayo Takata and Phyllis Furumoto were teaching, in addition to some new information from Japan as well. And during the last few years of her life, Phyllis spent a lot of time in Japan, really looking at the heritage, her personal heritage, being of Japanese ancestry, but also of the heritage of Reiki. And she gave even courses where did she give courses? And she even taught Reiki in Japan. Over the years, there has been a lot of factions and a lot of friction in Reiki. And I feel that looking at the achievement of Phyllis Furumoto can really help us to look at what Reiki really is all about. It's not about individual techniques. It is about the opening to universal energy. And that energy is always the same. Whether we call it universal, whether we call it Japanese, whether we use one technique or another, whether it's the hands, whether it's breathing, whether it is meditation, it doesn't really matter. As long as the number one key element of Reiki, the original attunement, is in place. Reiki is always the same. And this is something that Phyllis Furumoto fought for in this world. My memory is of a very engaging, strong and entertaining lady full of life. And she really stood for the idea that you can practice Reiki, you can really open up to this deep spiritual understanding and still live a normal and very happy life. Apart from being so determined in her pursuit to really keep the integrity of the Reiki teachings, Phyllis was a person full of life. She laughed, she loved eating, she loved engaging with people. She was really loved by a lot of people. She had an amazing, social life. And she really showed that you don't need to separate joy of life from your spirituality. You can be both. You can live a normal life and still really follow your path.